Behind me here is a test piece, or a piece that I did for Pebeo because they asked me to do some testing with their Origin paints, and tell them what I loved about them. And so, or just tell them what I thought about them, but I love them. And so that made it really easy, right, to say what it was that I thought about their paints. So this workshop is an introduction for you to the brand new, just out on the market here in the US, Origin Acrylics. So here's what they look like. It's by the Pebeo Paint Company, Origin Acrylics. They call them heavy viscosity. What that means is they're not heavy body, they're heavy viscosity, so there's a lot of pigment in there, in terms of the pigment to binder ratio. You're going to find these are highly pigmented paints, and so they mix beautifully, and they also go a long way. That's a good thing. But they don't go a long way when you do something like this that I'm going to show you right now, which is I was working, this is straight out of the tube. So, and then I mixed it with white, 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 to kind of get like the main color in the middle, and then some of the other colors out to the tints out to the side. And this is essentially right out of the tube. I didn't add any mediums. I didn't add any water or anything. And you can see the thickness, right? So they are nice and thick. This is right off the palette knife. And I wanted to show you that to let you know that when they say high viscosity, if it were a heavy body, it would have like a sharp edge to it. And what's nice is when these dry, they have more of a rounded edge to them, a little bit softer look to it. So I call them medium body, even though they call them high viscosity. So you know the difference between the two, okay? Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was working on it, just again, testing it to see how thick they are because I love palette knife painting. Yes, I paint with brushes, but one of my favorite ways to paint is with a palette knife. Actually, this piece behind me, the whole thing is a palette knife painting. No brushes, just palette knife. So that's what this is here. And you can see some of the body of the paint here. Now, before I get to actually working with the paints with you, I wanted to, of course, give you my inspiration for tonight, right? And I love abstract painting, and you may have in your area an arts center of some sort where they teach art classes. It might be a university. I'm going to encourage you to watch their notices for often they have an annual sale where they're just trying to get rid of some things. So look at what I got yesterday over there was they had books, and this I was there in the last hour, so everything was half off. So I think this book was $1.50. What? And that's just because periodically they have to clear out, right? So keep your eyes peeled for those kind of organizations when they have those sales. And I got a little bit of watercolor paint and some fabulous Kolinsky Sable brushes for next to nothing, y'all. Um, which are for watercolor. They're not for what we're doing. The reason that, well, when I finish my workshops, I include the inspiration in the notes. So I'll go into the description of the video, and I will put in there the books and the other inspiration that I have for this workshop. So this book, which is painting abstracts, is a fantastic. Hey, Art by Jeffrey, welcome in, welcome in. Is fantastic for people who are new to painting or new to abstracts. Um, I love, 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 love. And it's not just acrylics in here. She also goes over, let's see, it's Rolina Van Vliet is the author. It's not a new book, but I actually have another of her books, which is also about abstract painting. And I love the way she just gives you so many beautiful pictures and quick. I like in these days and age, we want things quick, right? It's like, come on. And so I can't recommend her book enough. It's fantastic. If you get it, you're going to love it. Now, when I'm looking for inspiration, oftentimes, not only do I use Instagram, which often I share Instagram artists with y'all, right? But I found this week a new platform that's actually for purchasing um, like backgrounds and fonts and logo materials and stuff like that that you can use to create or to include in your own digital artworks or to use, of course, as inspiration for your artworks. And so the place is called creativemarket.com. Creativemarket.com. And so what they have is they have artwork, like I said, fonts that are designed by creative people, like, the folks that are watching this, I assume, are going to be creative people. And so you are able to look through just, I mean, millions of images. It can be overwhelming. And so when you go on, have an intention, like I'm intending to look for, I was looking for tropical plants and leaves. And so that was what I first focused on. And then I thought, you know what? I can probably get some inspiration for tonight's workshop. And so this one in particular, the nice thing is they tell you who the creator is. They tell you where the creator's from. So there were creators from all over the world that offer their imagery that you can purchase and download, which I did do, and I'll show you some of that. But I thought these are nice and simple and sort of fun for something. If you're looking for a subject like this was another set here. So very colorful, but simple designs, very abstracted designs here. But if you're looking for inspiration in order to have an idea of what direction to go in, something like this can be very, very helpful, and you can find those on there. Now, another thing that I find very helpful is I have books about this, but I also sometimes use online references, and that's for color combinations. So I've shown you before my color wheel, like this one, and my color calculator, they call it, where you can, on the back, it gives you suggestions. You can do 3 or you can do 4 colors. And by turning this little wheel here, you can select a color and then it'll give you other color suggestions to go with it. They call that a color calculator. And then, of course, I have books about color and color combinations, but on another website called Unblast. So Unblast. They have a whole bunch of free references for you. And one of those sets of references, and as I said, I will link this website in the description of the video on YouTube when we're done tonight. Colors. And you can click on any these, so they give you tons of color suggestions, like what will go together. And then you can click on any one of these colors and it'll give you the color code. What is it? The RGB color code if you're going to be doing anything digital, so that you have the exact code, hex code, that you can put into your computer to get that exact color if you're designing something on the computer. But even if you're just painting with physical paints, you can still use these color combinations for inspiration and say, oh, I really like this color combination right here, or this would look really cool, these kind of light colors right here. So this is, as I said, a different website, and they have free mock-ups. They have all kinds of free stuff, right? Yeah. Lil Art Bodega, exactly, said, nice, nice. There's so much available on this Unblast website that I had never seen before, but I was scrolling through Instagram as we do, and somebody had a visual where they had the name of all these different websites that they use for help and inspiration. And this one, unblast.com, was one of them. And I had never heard of it before. So that's why I wanted to share it with y'all. But I will definitely be linking the website to my description of the YouTube video when all of this is over. Now, I had mentioned that you can purchase from Creative Market the different designs. And then you can use those designs. Some people use them to create fabrics, to put them on um, t-shirts, on clothing, on whatever. And there are different kind of licenses. I want y'all to be aware when you use somebody else's artwork, not something that you've created yourself. If you use their artwork, you have to pay for what's called a royalty, the right to use it. And there are different levels within those royalty payments. There's personal use, meaning you're not going to sell anything. You're just going to use it, say, to create a background to put into your scrapbook or something like that. So that's a personal license. Then there's a commercial license, and then there's an extended commercial license. That's on Creative Market. So I'm going to show you what I bought. I bought all of these really cool designs that have sort of a coral theme, because I have my seahorses that I've painted, and I'm going to paint a turtle, and I'm going to paint a crab, and I have plans. And so these are the types of backgrounds. Hey, Craft Owl, welcome in. So these are the type of backgrounds. This is one artist I purchased. I think she had 20 different backgrounds in there. So you can see the different background color combinations. And then she, that other one didn't belong in there. That's my next one. But these then, I can take my seahorse that I created and I can put my seahorse in here and then maybe put some words or something and use this in the background. And that's what these types of artworks are great for. Now, that's me purchasing from another creator, from another artist, right? There's nothing that says that I can't take my art. So if you create art and it's in a theme, like this was all like corally backgrounds. So she had one theme with multiple images, and then she has them up there for creative sale that people can then license to use for their either personal or commercial use. So I wanted to make you aware that that is there, and I like this as inspiration. So we may be using it tonight. I don't know yet. I have a couple of inspirational images, so we'll see what we use. But this is definitely one direction that I would like to go in. Then another direction I wanted to show you is, this is a picture of the frangipani, the beautiful smelling flowers from Hawaii, and then the leaves. But you notice how the incredible colors. It was kind of cold out. It had been cold, and here in Florida, the leaves turned a little bit yellow, and I just thought the colors were so nice that it would be a good jumping off point to create a piece of artwork. Now, I took this image and I put it into my favorite image manipulator, which is Canva, canva.com. And I created, hey, Dragon Hoarder, welcome in. I created a solarized version of it. So you can see it's kind of off, right? Like the colors are color shifted. And I call it solarizing. They called it something else, where the axis of the colors are laying in. They switch the axes so that you get this kind of fuzziness. Now, a lot of times when you are working from a photograph and creating a piece of art, you'll hear other artists say, squint your eyes, squint, squint when you're looking at it. And the purpose for that is to make the picture look hazy so that when you're doing something more impressionistic instead of a photorealism, if you're trying to get just the impression of it, you need to squint your eyes. Well, if you use this feature in the adjustments under Canva, and it's one of the apps that's in Canva, you can do the RGB shift and get these kind of psychedelic looking effects. So this was my photograph, and then this was their RGB photograph. And I love using this as a jumping off space instead of the actual picture, because that way it gives you the effect of squinting at your artwork without having to squint. You know, when you're as old as I am and you get the crow's feet here, you don't want to be squinting too much. So I'm going to take this picture. I think that we might be working from this picture tonight, and I'm going to put it over here where I have a stand for my images. Now, behind me up here, this is the solarization effect of an orchid. And you may say, what the heck? That doesn't look anything like an orchid. But that's the point, is you're taking an image. And what I did with the orchid was I went very close up on the orchid. So these are the leaves out here, and this is the middle portion of the orchid right here. I went up super close and took a picture of that, and then went in and did the RGB solarizing, I call it, and created this image from, I kid you not, what was a white flower. What? Yes. So, and I worked on it square like this big canvas up here. Now, this is a canvas print of my photograph. It's not a painting, but of course you can turn it into a painting. That's why I printed it out like this. And bear in mind, even if you have an image that's square, you can print it out. This is an 8.5 by 11. You can print it out this way. I could even turn it this way. I could turn it that way. There are all these different ways that you can, look at your imagery so that you can decide what to paint. I don't know if any of you ever have that problem, but sometimes you're looking, it's called the blank canvas syndrome, right? You're looking at a blank canvas going, what the heck do I paint? Well, here I'm giving you a whole bunch of fodder, a whole bunch of ways that you can take imagery, modify the imagery, maybe find what somebody else has done for imagery, and then keystone off of that. And so this is definitely something that I love, the boldness of the colors, and they would also work amazingly well with the Pebeo paint. So we might do this one. So many choices. That's the thing. Once you learn how to do some of these techniques of looking up imagery, the sky's the limit, y'all. There's so many things that you could do. All right, let me get back to talking to you then about the Origin acrylics. So what's besides the fact that they're nice and thick and creamy, which I'm going to show you, this tube right here, the reason this brochure is all green is that the tube is an echo tube. So they have tubes and they have pots. Let me show you what the pot looks like. So this is the pot. Here, this is 480 milliliters. So they have the little bitty 60 milliliter tubes in the sets. Then they have, these are open stock, which are the 120s. And then they have the 240s that look like that, the big ones. And then they have the 480 in a pot like this. And so this pot, not the lid, but the pot itself, and these tubes are echo tubes and echo pots. So what does that mean? What that means is that Pebeo, which is a 100-year-old company out of France, they're very concerned with, as are most of us, with the environment, sustainability, reducing our plastic load, and all that kind of stuff, right? Oh, thanks for the hearts over on Whatnot. I appreciate that. And so what they've done is they've created an echo, what they call an echo product or an echo tube. And so this echo tube, you see that there's paper on the outside. So what they've done is instead of this being fully a plastic tube, there's only a sheath of plastic on the inside to protect the paint, and then they cover the outside with recycled paper. So phenomenal. What that does is it's more than 50% reduction in the plastic that it takes to create the same size tube, right? Plus the lid, you see how I'd call it a demi lid, right? So it's thinner. It's not quite as big, and so it's not using, again, as much plastic. So the whole thing is saving quite a bit on plastics use. And with the tub, all of this, the whole tub is this area, not the lid. Like the lid here and the lid here have to be new for the strength, but the pot here and the tube sheath here, they were able to use the recycled material, which is fantastic. Just that much less for the landfill, right? And then the other cool thing about these paints is that the binder, there's pigment and then there's binder. That's what makes up paint. Even watercolors, oil paints, pigment and binder is always the two. There may be other things which people call fillers in there as well, but the basic essence is pigment and binder. So the binder that goes into these Origin acrylic paints is a 100% recycled, reclaimed acrylic binder. Isn't that cool? So people may not know it, but when you make paint, whether it's house paint or paint for fine art, there's always leftover. So what they've done is focused on reclaiming the binder, separating it from the pigment, and then using that reclaimed binder in order to make a whole line of new paints. So it's pretty cool. And then let me show you the label because I think it's really important to know what's on your labels. And I've shown you that before because there's important information that appears on a label. This is an actual piece of paper that they've glued on the front of the paint. So oftentimes you'll see printed on a tube what the color is. However, it depends on the print emulsion whether it's true to color for what's actually going to be dried when it comes out of the tube, right? So these all have an actual paint chip on it. And this, even the big ones here, see, that's an actual paint chip, which is a real advantage for people who are artists. When you're standing in the store and you're like, well, it says it's purple, but what does it actually look like when it's dry? That's one of the ones that is very like often it can look a lot different when it's dry than what's on the tube. Let me grab one of the purples here so I can show you what I'm talking about. Like for instance, this one right here. So you can see the purple on the packaging, but this is the dry purple, exactly what it's going to look like after it comes out of the tube. You paint with it and it dries. So that's very handy to know. Another thing is it's going to tell you the color number and the color name here on the tube. And then down here, so you don't have to search for it because a lot of tubes, a lot of companies or manufacturers put pigment information, whether it's light fast or not, and whether it's transparent or opaque, they'll put it on the side or the back of the tube. But the nice thing is here, it's right on the front of the tube. So I had told them, thank you so much for putting everything we need to know right here. This is the primary yellow. And so it's saying it's a mono pigment. That means there's only one pigment in there. It gives you the pigment number. So the light fastness, like here, the 3 stars is excellent, top of the line. Last week I was talking about light fastness, and that means 50 to 100 years light fastness, or more, or longer. And then here, the little block, if it's white like that, that means it's transparent. If it is half and half, that means it's like semi-transparent or semi-opaque. And if it's dark, then that means that it is opaque. I've been using over 10 years. Yes. So Little Art Bodega said they've been using the Pebeo paints and the golden paints for 10 years. Yep. Fantastic. Great quality, right? All right. What I like about this new paint line is that half of the colors, there are 48 colors, so approximately half the colors, over 20, are single pigment colors. So what does that mean to you? Single pigment color means there's only one pigment in there. So this says monopigment, and then it gives you the pigment number. You can actually look up what those pigments are and what the properties of like how are they made and all that. There's a whole, I actually have it bookmarked on my computer so I can just go click and look up that pigment code. So this is PY74. I can look that up and find out all kinds of stuff about PY74. But what it means to you, whether you know anything or even want to know anything about acrylic paint or not, is if you have a single pigment paint, they mix beautifully. Okay. It really helps a lot when you're going to get to try to mix a color and you want a specific outcome if you have at least one single pigment paint. And then I also like one of those paints to be transparent. So this is a transparent monopigment paint and it mixes other beautiful colors because of that. And actually all three of the primaries, so there's primary yellow, primary blue, and primary red, and they all mix beautifully because they're all transparent. Let me see, was there anything else I wanted to, oh, before we go over the table, let me tell you about, I mentioned the three primary colors. So often they're cyan, yellow, and magenta, right? Um, Pebeo actually has a magenta, and the primary red is not magenta. You won't see it say magenta on there, but if you know something about pigment colors, and I was just mentioning the pigment color codes to you, right here. Oh, look at that. It's got like a mess through it. Let's see. I know I have another one here. I have another one. Hold on. Let's see. PV for Victor 19. You see that right there? PV 19. V is not R. So R is, so if it says PR, it's pigment red. It's in the red family. If it says PV, it's in the violet family, which is your pinks and purples. So even though it's here called primary red, it's actually in the violet family, and it is your, your red, your magenta, your cyan, your yellow. It falls within that family, and it mixes beautifully. So sometimes when you're looking at a lesser expensive paint line, and they call something a mixing red, it's actually not a real mixing red. It's not a mixing red that's going to give you those good, clean colors. And I'm happy to say that these are. So, woo-hoo. A lot of brands that are the finer art brands will have multiple blacks like that. And exactly like Crazy Junk Art said, carbon black, um, peach pit black, they're just, they're different things that are burned or where they extract that dark color from. And because it's a brand new paint line, they went with the warm ivory black and the cool um, Mars black. But next week, I'm going to be doing a workshop on um, uh, value studies and working with how to create grays. And so we will be working a lot with black and white next week because there's not only one white, there are three whites. One is titanium white, which is the very opaque. Then there's zinc white, but they don't call it zinc white. They call it, what do they call it? What do they call it? There's titanium white and I don't have it right here. There's titanium white, there's a transparent white. They might call it zinc white. But that's what I know it as, right? Zinc white is a different kind of mixing white. And then iridescent white. And in addition to that, a lot of people, and me included, like to mix with something called titanium buff. So there's also a titanium buff in there, which is like, oh, yes, yes, I love my titanium buff. Is that different than medium? Dragon Hoarder, yes, these are actual paints. So the titanium white and the mixing white, I think they just call it mixing white, and the iridescent white, like for instance, there's the iridescent white, which is a pearlescent that I love to mix into all kinds of things. And then the buff titanium are all, they're not mediums, they're actually colors. So you can use them on top of other paints or you can mix them in with paints. I often will mix the Titan Buff in with colors in order to warmify a color. So instead of using white, I will often use Titan Buff, and then that will warm the color up that I'm working with just a tad, just a little bit. That's one of those tricks that after you've worked with acrylics for a long time that you learn to grab your titanium white. Sometimes if you're color mixing, if you're looking for a color, um, grab that Titan Buff and so they're both titanium white, but one is buff titanium and one is the pure white. Grab the two and mix it with your color and see which one you like better, because sometimes you'll find that the Titan Buff gives you a nicer color. When I'm doing greens a lot, I like to use the Titan Buff with those, and it gives me more of a minty feel to the green, and I love minty greens. So let's see. So that makes it lighter. Yes, Dragon Hoarder. And next week we're going to be talking about all those shades of gray and whether they're warm or cool or neutral, and doing value studies before you jump into doing a painting where you're putting color in. Okay. Then I mentioned the metallics. So highly pigmented metallics. Holy schmoly. There is so much. Hey, Critter Chops, welcome in. There is so much pigment in the metallics. And this is the Origin, the new line, but Pebeo has what they call the Studio Acrylics line. Oh, did somebody? Oh, yeah. I think Gabriel Lee Arts won. I was going to say, didn't we just do a giveaway? Oh, let's see. So the Studio Acrylics from Pebeo also has a gold, a silver, and a copper. And I've used those for like as long as I became aware of them 15 years ago. Love them. And so this is just essentially the same thing, but with the recycled binder and in the reduced plastic tubes. Excellent quality gold, silver, and copper. And I'm going to show you how I mix those shortly. And then some of my favorites, which are the fluorescents. So these do fluoresce under a black light, by the way, if you wanted to do a piece of art, something like this. If you hit it with a black light, let's see, I have my little black light thing here for uranium glass, right? Let me see, there are 3 different colors of the, right now there are only 3, but I'd love if they made more. There's the fluorescent green. So the last one I showed you was the fluorescent yellow, fluorescent green, and my all-time favorite, the fluorescent pink. Like you see the nails here, fluorescent pink. I can't help it. So let me see if I turn this on. Oh, it's kind of hard to see here. There. Man, okay, you can't see it, but that sucker is fluorescing so crazy. Let's see if you can see it with a different color. See, it's like you almost can't see it at all. It is fluorescing like insanely. Ah, it doesn't work on camera. Sorry about that, y'all, but just trust me. They are like boom, fluorescing like crazy. And then there's also a phosphorescent gel that goes with the line. And so you can add that to other colors if you want to make another color phosphorescent. All right. So that is discussing the different colors in the range. Now, of course, there are your typical colors, like there's a cadmium red hue. Another thing about a label is if it says hue, that means, or sometimes it'll just say imitation. But if it says hue, like this one does, cadmium red hue, that's the non-toxic version of that color. So cadmium is a heavy metal, and a lot of artists don't want to paint with paints that have heavy metals in them. Also, when you rinse your brush out, those heavy metals go down into the water supply. So this is a non-toxic version. There are no toxic paints within the line at all. Yes, good to know. So cadmium red hue means that this is a paint that's formulated to look like cadmium red, which a lot of people will want to grab for a cadmium red because it is a beautiful saturated red color. It's like a true red, right? And this one happens to be a monopigment, which is awesome. And it's PR. So remember, I told you P is pigment, R is for the red family. PR 254. And again, single pigment. And so, yes, there's a whole series of different colors like carmine red. So carmine red leans to the blue side, right? And then there is the magenta, because normally when I'm color mixing, I want to color mix with a magenta, not realizing that this violet that is their mixing red is perfect. But you can also mix with the quinacridone magenta. Now, another thing about a label, if it says quinacridone on here, this big old long word, most of us just call it quin. So quin magenta. Quinacridone means it's a transparent color. So if you see that word quinacridone on any color, quinacridone gold, you know that it's a transparent color. And sure enough, right there, the little block is white, so we know it's transparent. But I would have known from the name of the paint anyway. And another paint that, let me find it. Come on. I'm looking for a particular color here. In the greens. Okay, okay. I think it's down here. Oh, I know it's down here, actually. Oh, I have a big bag next to me with all the paint to give away to y'all. So this says it's phthalocyanine emerald. So you see a word like phthalocyanine and you're like, oh my gosh, is that like cyanide? Is that poison? No, it's not. It's also, and we, for short, we call that phthalo, Phthalo, phthalo. So there's phthalo blue and phthalo green. And so this is phthalo emerald green. And again, phthalo means it's transparent. Okay, so if you see quinacridone or you see phthalo, you know that those paints are transparent, and that comes in handy when you're color mixing because, like I said before, I like to have at least one of the colors that I'm mixing be a transparent color. And so here again, you can see the little block. And is it a monopigment? Yep, monopigment. PG7, so pigment green 7, and that means it will color mix like a dream, y'all. Normally you would have your paint that includes the pigment with the color, and then you're going to have acrylic mediums that go along with it. And the mediums let you do different things. So for instance, the mediums let you thin the paint out, or they let you make the paint thicker, or they let you make the paint more transparent, or they let you make the paint more opaque, or they let you give a finish to the paint that's either more matte or more gloss. So that's what acrylic mediums are for. And to go along with the Origin line, again, in the recycled pots and with recycled, reclaimed acrylic binder are a modeling paste. So you see here it says modeling paste. And then, here we go. Now, there are two kinds of modeling paste I want you to be aware of. So if you're in the art store and you're standing in front of them and you go, okay, which one do I get again? Um, this one just says modeling paste, and this one says heavy. Do you see the word heavy right there? So the heavy is going to just give you a little more body and a little more grit in the modeling paste, and then the regular modeling paste is just going to give you more opaqueness and more body. Okay, and then let's see what else I have over here. The Bindex, it says Bindex 3-in-1 medium. And so that's what's in this little jar right here. I've already given some of that away tonight. Bindex medium is it's nice because it will help the paint flow off your brush better. But it's not too wet. You know, a lot of times mediums are fluid mediums, so they're more wet. And oftentimes I want the paint to glide off the brush, but I don't want to lose the body of the paint per se. And that's one of the many things that I use this Bindex for, which is why I am including some of the Bindex for some of you. And then gessos. So I've talked before about wanting to prepare my surface. So whether you're using a canvas, like this is a canvas board, or you're using paper, then it's helpful to coat it first with a layer of gesso. Now this is the black gesso and white gesso. Now there are, let's see. Oh, okay, cool. I was just watching to see if I needed to address any questions there. Nope, we're good. If you put in a question and I didn't answer it, just let me know, okay? Um, yeah, ask the question again. So there are different thicknesses of gesso, and which is the primer. But I use the white gesso just like paint anyway. I'd throw it in with my paint instead of titanium white all the time because sometimes you'll find gesso on sale and it's cheaper. So just get your gesso and use that for your titanium white. But gesso has a very toothy surface to it, which is matte. It has a matte finish to it. So just be aware of that, that both the black and the white will have that. Plus gesso comes in thinner and thicker again as well. So Pebeo actually has a white gesso that's the regular gesso, and usually I'll use 2 coats of the regular gesso or the heavier 1 coat, which means basically the same jar will go twice as far with the heavy version. And so I actually have the heavy version of the black, which is the extra here, and the heavy 1 coat of the white. But I just wanted to let you know that those are also like the sustainable recycled binder, the recycled here, and I prepared this surface with that 1 coat gesso. Okay, so I think one more thing, and then we will be ready to go over top of the table. Oh my gosh. Oh, let me just make sure that I put my modeling pastes in the right order here. Yes. Oh, who was it? Oh, Gabriel Lee Arts again. Woo! Okay. Winner, winner, chicken dinner tonight. You are doing some winning. That is awesome. Congratulations. Okay. So I wanted to show you just a few pieces of artwork that I made with the Origin paints. I use the Origin paints now a lot in terms of my mixed media. So the pieces that you'll see that I have that have a combination of collage and other things in them, the acrylic is the Origin Acrylics. And this is a project that I did of, I live in Florida, y'all. So of course, citrus is a big thing here, right? Lemons, oranges, that kind of thing. And so Salmon's Girl said the new piece behind me, this one or that one? I don't know. This is using the Origin paints, and that's a print from a photograph that I took. So this is, I call it a more traditional approach to painting with acrylics. So you have a still life, and then you're painting the still life. What I like about this paint is you see the textury effect there. So I used a brush for quite a bit of the painting, but I also took a palette knife and did a little bit of palette knife painting so that I could get some of this texture going like this. So you see the texture in there, and the texture, if you run your hand over it like I am, there's actually texture there. And I love the texture, but you can also use a brush and put a little bit of that Bindex in there that I showed you, right? And make it so it'll smooth off of the brush. And then that's what I used for the background here and here to get a nice smooth finish with the paint as well. So using it straight out of the tube with the palette knife gives me that little bit of texture, and then using it with the medium gave me the smoothness. Now that's more of a, what I would call more of a traditional still life, right? Where you have a subject and you paint the subject. Let me show you now. Now I'm beginning to get a little more loosey-goosey. And yes, it's still the oranges subject, but I am a little more loose and not quite as representational. It doesn't matter if things look wonky and out of shape. I threw, oh, thank you. Critter Chop says, sweet acrylic impressionist. Yeah, because this is kind of impressionist. I'm not a photorealist. I like abstract and impressionism. And so I threw some shadows down in here, and there's a lot of layering going on. That's one of the things that I love about acrylics is my saying is there's no crying in acrylics because you can always put another layer over top, right? No crying in acrylics, y'all. Okay, and then we're gonna go even more impressionist. So this is all done with these paints. And so here I wanted to get brighter colors. So where this is using strictly the mixing colors, the 3 mixing colors that I showed you, right? And that come in this little kit right here, the 3 mixing colors was the last 2. This one, I said, let me use that pink fluorescence so I can get higher key colors. That's what I like about using fluorescents. They give you a brighter or a higher key color mix. So this is the oranges, but in using the fluorescent pink to mix instead of red. And so it gives you like a little bit brighter colors on there. Everything else is pretty much the same, but that orange like boom pops more because I used that fluorescent pink. That's one of my secret weapons that now you know. It's no longer a secret. The secret's out. I use the fluorescents all the time. And then this one is only palette knife. So it's a lot more textury. Use the same paints. This one actually uses the 3 primaries, but I only used a palette knife. So there's a lot of texture in here and it's a lot looser, right? And so I love the texture that it gives that you can do an only palette knife painting if you want to, because I love my palette knives and I have a whole bunch of them in different sizes and shapes, so that I can do those really fun things. Hedgehog Biscuit over on YouTube. Can you give me some advice? But didn't ask what the advice was, so I guess I'm not giving any advice. I have lots of painting advice to give though. Okay, we are going to go over top of the table so that we can start actually mixing these things together. And I have prepared a background already. So this is kind of like a peachy pink color, matches my nails. I must be in this mood lately. And I'm going to show you, it actually came right out of a tube. So this one is called Pink Beige. It has 3 colors in it. So it's got PR168, which is a red, PY3, which is a yellow, and PW6, which is titanium white. And so it would not be good. You're not going to get clean color if I took this color, which has 3 colors in it, and try to mix it with another color that say has 2 or 3 colors in it, right? Because all those colors could potentially clash with one another. So that's why I wanted to show you this and mention there are multiple colors here. And from a color mixing standpoint, it's better if I wanted to mix a color with this, if I use a single pigment color that's transparent, right? And then I'll get cleaner mixes if I'm trying to mix that into something else. But it has a bit of a peachy pink to it, and that's because of that tiny bit of yellow that they put in there. So it's not just red and white to give a pink, it's got that tiny bit of yellow for the peachy effect. And so I prepared that ahead of time so we would have a background to work off of. Let me go ahead and I'm going to take you over top of the table here, and we're going to play with some paint and do a painting. Something, very good. Steffi's Boutique over on, Steffi Joe's Boutique over on Whatnot said something that she learned in cake decorating is to use the same base color for complementary colors. Yep, like ivory first for all the colors in the cake. Yes, yes, excellent advice where you just pick one color that you're going to do your color mixing with. They're all different kind of tricks for how to make your colors within your painting harmonize so that they look good together, and that's one of them. Hey, Mark, I appreciate that. He said he learned so much today. Let me turn this other light on, and we are going to go up over top of the table and have some fun with paint. Don't use ivory for two and white for another. Right. Unless you want them to clash. Exactly. So that's where, Steph, I was talking about this using the buff titanium versus the titanium white. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I think that's what you're talking about. If you're going to mix color, one color with the ivory, mix all of your colors with the ivory. Or if you're going to mix one color with titanium white, mix all of your colors in that particular painting with the titanium white. Another way to use it, if you're doing a landscape, y'all, here's something different. The things that are in the background are going to be a lighter shade, and the things in the foreground are going to be warmer. Okay, so your background, like if you're looking at the Blue Ridge Mountains, and as the further back you get, they get mistier and mistier and mistier and mistier. You can do the things all the way in the back of your landscape using white, and the things that are forward in your landscape, meaning things that are close to you that should have a richer color, you can mix them with the ivory. So that's just a trick. But Steph, you're absolutely right. When it comes to something like a cake that you're decorating, you're not looking for that effect of something way back out, close to you and way far away from you, then definitely. But that takes a lot of time and practice, right? To get those adjustments right. I never thought of that when you do background and foreground. Right. Yeah. See, as a when you get involved with landscape painting, those are the kind of things you have to think about. All right, we're going to go up over top of the table. I wanted to show you the basic color mixing. Remember I said that there is a primary yellow, a primary blue, and a primary red, right? And so these are the primary colors right here. Whoop. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on a second. My phone is a little bit, okay, I think that's better. Um, so if you take those primary colors and what I do as an artist is if a new line of paint comes to me, I'm like, okay, give me your mixing colors, those three primaries, and let's see what we get. Because that's going to tell me a lot about the paint. Now, if it is oh, yes, thanks, Mark. Said FYI, this show will be watchable on YouTube in case you missed anything. Exactly. Um, so I look at the primary colors. Of course, if it's a professional line of paint, it will have these various pigment numbers on them, right? I look for that to see, is it a single pigment? Is it a multi-pigment? What's going on? And in this case, they're single pigments. They're all three transparent. And then when you mix them, so here I'm mixing the yellow and the red. So the primary yellow, primary red. And these are the various oranges that I can get from that based upon color mixing in different quantities, right? So usually I'll start with an equal quantity of red and yellow and see what kind of orange I can get. So these are your primary colors, and these are called secondary colors. So it's orange, green, and purple are your secondary colors. And then the more I add yellow, the lighter the orange is. I can see what my gradients are here. What have, oh, Steffi Joe's Boutique just asked, what are my handles on YouTube? I'm going to put this out. There you go. You can just snap a picture of that screen And there's my Instagram is Deetsart. My Facebook is Tristina Deets Art. My website, deetsart.com. On my website, deetsart.com, I have a link called supply links, or a menu item called supply links. And you can actually find the paints that I talk about here, except for the Origin paints. Right now, they're only available at Dick Blick. Or I'm giving a bunch away today, right? And then there's my YouTube. If you just type in Tristina and art or artists, you'll find me. You are welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for asking again. Okay, so that was those two colors to get my secondary orange, and then the yellow and the blue, primary blue. And so we get all of these greens, and then the primary red and primary blue gives you a whole selection, a whole variety of purples. And then I like to put a little bit of white with it. So you see here, these are the mixes together with white. So we've got the orange, so that's 50-50 orange and yellow, together with a little bit of white, gives you kind of a salmony orange color. And then there's a light green, and then there is your purple. I'll bring this up closer so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. And with the lighting. But this is the kind of thing that I like to do when I first get paints, is I sit down and I make this kind of comparison so that I can see what the paints do. Are they doing what I think they should do? Now, this is the same thing, but I'm adding white. So I've taken my mixed color. So there's my mixed orange, my mixed green, and my mixed purple from the primaries, and I'm adding white to the different versions of the mixes. And so you can see sort of a range of orange to salmon, peachy colors. You've got a minty green and like a spring green right there. And then here are the purples. So you have a blue purple and a red purple. And then over here are metallics that I mix from the metals, which I'm going to show you that live in just a minute. And then this shows you the transparency of the colors. So I put a strip of black. This is the black gesso on the board. And then you can see that red. You can see the transparency through it. The yellow is surprisingly not transparent, but it mixes beautifully. Oh, actually, this is the pink. That's the primary yellow, red, and blue. There's that phthalo green that I had shown you before. And so you can kind of get a feel for the transparency of your colors. And then do you see the shimmer? This is the iridescent white, and then the gold, silver, and copper right there, which are amazing. And then this is umber and ochre. So burnt umber and ochre. And especially if you're doing skin tones, or you doing, hey, Love Be My Motive Studio, welcome in, welcome in. We're talking about the Pebeo Origin Acrylics today and giving a bunch of them away. So I hope you win some. A lot of times, if you do either portraiture or you do landscapes, it's very important to know that a paint line has in it your umbers, your ochres, your siennas. So like raw sienna, burnt sienna, raw umber, burnt umber. Did you say they were gel acrylic? Love Be My Motive Studio, these are a creamy acrylic paint. I'm actually going to put some out in just a second, so you'll see exactly how they operate, okay? So this is actually just canvas. Right here you can buy a canvas pad, and that's what I like to do testing on, because then they're cheap and you can throw them away, right? So I couldn't hear. Are you able to hear me okay now? Love Be My Motive Studio. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So this is actually just canvas, and you can buy it in a pad. So y'all know that most of the time I work with the Canson XL watercolor pad, and absolutely you can do everything that I'm going to show you on that, or you can do painting on the canvas board. That's what this is from Blick, is a canvas board. And then, of course, you can do your work on a stretched canvas. And with the gessos that I showed you earlier, you can basically prepare any surface you want. You can prepare wood, you can prepare all kinds of different surfaces and then paint on them with these acrylic paints. So I'm going to show you a couple of the pads that I use that are canvas pads when I'm messing around and color mixing and stuff like that. So this is called a Yes multimedia pad, and it is canvas. So this is actually canvas and it has gesso on the top of it. And that's from Jerry's Artarama. And then this is, of course, the Blick version of canvas pad. And it's already, again, primed with gesso. So let's take this one. This is the Blick one for tonight. And now I'm going to color mix. This is how I color mix like crazy. I'm a crazy color mixer, I call myself. And so this is just an example of some of the color mixing that I do. Hold on a second. For some reason, my phone is like, hey, is that better? Yeah, hold on. I have to, for some reason, move my boom. A little bit better. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to come up a little bit more. Nice. Okay. Let me turn this way. So these are, this is a pad, a paper palette. Now it comes in both white. So this is a white paper palette pad. Let me see, is this the Blick one? Yeah. So it's just palette paper and it has a slick surface to it. Usually they have 40 to 50 sheets in a pad like this. And then some people, like especially if you're an oil painter, I find oil painters like to work on the gray surface. So sometimes the colors show up better, more true on a gray surface. It just depends on what you like. Hey, I'll take whatever, whatever I can get that's on sale. So these are all done on white, but these are the mixed colors. So you've got your purple, your orange, and your green, and then I put some iridescent white in them so you can kind of see the shine right there. This is what it looks like when I'm experimenting with color mixing. Here I was color mixing greens, which means I was using different yellows because there's not just the primary yellow in the line. There's also, let me find another one. This is lemon yellow and cadmium yellow. There's a whole series of yellows, and there's a whole series of blues. So for instance, here's the ultramarine blue. Here's the cobalt blue. Here's the cerulean blue. Those are all different types of blues, right? And so I wanted to see what the different greens were that I could get from these different combinations of the paint. So if you look here, you can see now, you may be like, well, Tristina, how are you going to know what to mix to get which results? I put it into a book, y'all. Okay. So I mix it like this, and then I take it and I put it into a book, and then I write my notes as to what the colors were. So, yes, I have a book. It has all of these colors in it, and it says what the mixes were. Here's a white. So we have the titanium white and the mixing white, and it goes together with the warm black and the cool black. And we're going to be talking more about that next week when we talk about value studies. This is where I did the three primary colors, and then I did the mixing of the primary colors just to see what they look like. A lot of people are familiar with doing color charts like this. I'm going to tell you a trick, another trick, okay? And that is, you know how I show you all the time the Stabilo all pencils? I love them because they write on all the different surfaces. So this is a slick surface right here, right? From the palette paper. And most of the time you can't write on it with a regular ballpoint pen or even one of these permanent pens. It doesn't write on it, but you can write on it with the Stabilo All pencils that come in many different colors. So there's a trick for you. That way you don't have to necessarily transfer this onto something else. You can write right on your palette like this, just like I do. Oh, let me put this back underneath here. This is using fluorescence. So you see how the colors are so much brighter when I use the fluorescent. So here I used primary yellow and fluorescent pink, and I got this like super bright flamingo orange, and then I added a little bit of white, and I got this super light, uh, whatever you would call it, salmon, corally salmon color. Yeah, thanks for the hearts, I appreciate it. And then here's primary yellow with the fluorescent green, and you get a beautiful light color. So I just love using the fluorescence to get these high key colors. And then here is blue, 3 different colors of blue. So phthalo blue, primary blue, and ultramarine blue, which are very common that people use a lot. But the primary blues, actually, some people know it as cyan. I love. Oh, good. Thank you. um, so we have 2 different kinds of whites. I was telling you the titanium white and the mixing white. And this is an example of the two, how why would I need 2 different kinds of white? But I'm going to talk more about that when I talk about values next week. I just wanted to show that to you here. Now this is the 3 primary colors mixed together with the fluorescent colors. So we have the fluorescent yellow, fluorescent pink, and fluorescent green. If you weren't here earlier, let me show those to you real quick. Like, there's the fluorescent green, there's the fluorescent yellow. Where's my pink? There's my fluorescent pink. Okay, so those are the fluorescents that, yes, when you put them under black light, oh, they fluoresce all right. And so, again, here's mixing those high key colors by adding the fluorescence. Now, I did want to, they look opaque, which is hard to get with those pigments. Right, right. Yeah, there's nothing other than the paint in here. There's no white in any of these. It's just very dense with pigment. Now, what I want you to notice is this color right here that looks brown. And you might say, well, Tristina, these other colors are so bright. Why is there brown right there? Well, because if you know from your color wheel, when you mix red and green, you're going to get a brown or a gray, right? And so when I use the primary red, which I'm going to show you here, primary red, and I mix that together with the fluorescent green, well, red and green, traditionally when they're mixed together, they neutralize one another, right? And so then I get this incredible brown. But the cool thing about it is that brown looks like sienna. So if you want to get yourself a sienna, you can just mix it with the fluorescent color, or probably one of the lighter greens would also work with the primary red. So it's helpful. I find it's very helpful to do these little color mixing exercises regularly so that because you get unexpected results and you go, oh, that is so cool. Now I know, right? And I keep these, I mark on them with my Stabilo All pencil, and then I know what it is that I'm working with. This is taking the fluorescent pink, so the one that I showed you just a second ago. Where's my fluorescent pink? Right there, the fluorescent pink, and then mixing it with the various yellows. I have lemon yellow, primary yellow, cadmium yellow, and cadmium yellow deep. And then this is mixing it with the fluorescent yellow, fluorescent pink up here, and mixing it with the primary red down here. So can you see the difference? You see a huge difference, right, in the way that they look. And it just depends on what kind of pigment you're looking for. But I wanted you to know that these fluorescents, they actually have a light fastness rating, a medium light fastness rating. So Pebeo has a 1 star is fair, 2 stars is medium, and then 3 stars is excellent. So the 3 stars are going to represent 50 to 100 years of light fastness. And then the 2 stars is around 25 to 50 years. I think that's about the range. And then if it were a 1 star, it would be, you know, up to 20 years or so, if that. And so the fluorescents are all at the number 2, which is great because you can mix them with a number 3 light fastness like the primaries, and you get a very stable color, which I think is fabulous. Fabulous. Okay, let me put those away. I love those. And then I mentioned the metallics. So you might not have thought to do this, but yes, you can take your metallics, so your gold, your silver, and your copper, and you can mix it with any of the other colors. And so here we have this really cool mossy green that came out of the putting blue with the gold, for instance. This is the blue with the silver. You get kind of a blue steel. And then the blue with the copper, you get something that looks very rusty. And so you can see, I really like this one over here, the yellow with the silver. Again, I would have never thought it was going to give me this really interesting light, light green color. It's like, what? So definitely I encourage you to get yourself a couple of these pads of the palette paper and just get yourself a Stabilo pencil so you can write on it. And then you can see just the stack. This is how I know what my paints are going to do. And it's a handy reference to keep around. All right, but let's actually do some. If there's a special mix that you would like me to do for you, just let me know and I'll be happy to do that. But I'm going to run through some of my favorite mixes here. Actually, this front page is a little bit dirty. Let's do a giveaway. And what are we giving away? What am I giving away this time? Okay, I'm going to give away another 120 milliliter tube. So that's a tube like this. And blink. It's running. So jump in on that if you want a tube of paint. Thank you, Pebeo. Thank you, Pebeo. If you're on YouTube and you'd like to join us over on Whatnot and get in on the giveaways, then just pop into the comments, or I'm sorry, the description of the video and click on the link and you can come over to Whatnot and join us over here and take place in the giveaways. Woohoo! Okay, so when I'm color mixing, I'm always using a palette knife. Actually, not that palette knife. Most of the time, I have a different palette knife that I use for that. Remember how I said I have tons of palette knives? So many palette knives. Okay, and some of my palette knives are huge for working on big canvases. So this is my favorite color mixing palette knife. I'll have to follow their YouTube. Yes. Okay, so let's, I'm just going to do the basic mixes for you real quick so you can see. And what I find is whenever I get yellow, the color yellow, I buy twice as much as any of the other colors because I'm constantly mixing the yellow in with the blues and the reds a lot. So that's why I have this 480 milliliter, the big tub, and it's about halfway empty. And I already used up a tube because I just mix with so much yellow. I find that the types of colors that I like to work with are those high key colors, those bright colors. And so I'm using twice as much of the yellow to the other colors. So let's mix a green. So this is the primary blue. And I'm just putting a little bit in because it's very, very strong. This tinting strength is super strong. So there you can see a whole bunch of the yellow and a little bit of the blue. We all have those colors, yes. So let me mix this and see where we are. Oh, wow. Loving it. Okay, fantastic. See, I love that. That's like to me a middle green. Not too light, not too dark. Beautiful in the middle. That's what I love about these paints, y'all. You just mix it a little bit, like you get what you expect to get. Yes, of course, I can compare it to the fluorescent yellow. No problem. I'll do that in a second. Um, but what I loved, what my first comment to them was when I tested them, oh my gosh, I get exactly what I expect to get when I mix the colors. Ah, so there is your lots of primary yellow, tiny bit of cyan. There's your what I would call a middle green. Okay. Now the next one, you wanted me to do the yellow. Oh, the fluorescent yellow. Yes, of course, fluorescent yellow. Ah, so pretty. Fluorescent yellow right here. Yeah, thanks for the request. I love filling those requests. Oh, I'm dropping things over there. Then I'm going to put just a touch of the blue in there. Not too much, just a little bit because it's so strong. All right, let's see what we get. Oh, this is going to be fun. I love mixing with those transparent, with the fluorescents. Now, bear in mind, these colors are transparent, so they're perfect for mixing with, even the all three fluorescents. Now, see, this is not what I expected to get. It's very cool, but it's not what I expected. Isn't that funny? Awesome. This I would call more like a Kelly green, you know, like an Irish green, where this is more like a moss green. Okay, there you go. Ooh, there's the comparison. There's the green with the fluorescent, and there's the green with the uh, just primary color. Now, if I want tints and shades, right? Because if you're working on something, let's say that you're working on something that is I expected lime for some odd reason, right? Right? Well, let's add some white. Let's throw some white in there. See, I have some white here. Titanium white. Let's throw some titanium white in there. So I'm going to take a little bit of this the one that was mixed with fluorescent, and we'll add some titanium white and we'll see what we get. Wow. See, that's not even lime green, is it? That's like lime sherbet. Looks like lime sherbet. Now, if I wanted lime, I can add more yellow. So let's add a little bit of yellow to this. This is what I do in my studio, y'all. That's why I call myself a mad color mixer, because I'm like, now, if I want to get this or I want to get that. Oh, awesome. Okay. Was it Mark that won more? Won the tube? So if I want to get something that's more along the lines of a minty, yeah, that was a minty green. This is a lime green. See, I just added a little bit of yellow to it. Look at what it did to it. Completely changed it. Now I use the primary yellow instead of the fluorescent yellow. And now I've got lime green. Bloop. You see it? Lime green, just like that. By adding a little bit of the primary yellow. Beautiful. Thank you so much. You are welcome. Now, if I want to take this green that was from the primary blue and the primary yellow, and I want to darken it and I want to lighten it. So I'm going to take a little bit of it here, and I'm actually going to add a little bit more of the blue to it so we can get a little bit deeper color. It doesn't take much of the blue, I'm telling you. The blue is like so strong. So I add that blue. So I recommend you add the blues and the reds a little bit at a time because, man, they are just so strong. Okay, that was a little bit more blue. And now you've got a deeper green, right? And of course, if I want a lighter color, I'm going to add a white. But remember how I mentioned there are two whites? Well, they're actually the Titan Buff too, but you can preserve the color but increase the volume by using mixing white. Oh, here I am telling you about that, and then I don't have mixing white right here. Let me see if there's any mixing white in this box or not. Let's see how I have all of these in here. Let me see if there's a mixing white in here. Parchment. You were asking about parchment. They have what they call buff titanium. So let me see here. Nope, I don't have the mixing white handy. Sorry about that. Let's just put some, all right, let's do this. We will put some titanium white in here and we'll put some buff titanium in there. You guys have me on a roll. Here we go. So here's titanium white. I'm going to turn this around like this so you can see it better. So we have titanium white going into this one. And that was this green right here. Oh, nice. Nice. You see how creamy these are? They're just such a joy to work with. Such a joy. And then they have the sustainability to go with them. They're just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Okay, so we've got, there it is with white in it. Let me bring it down there. And then let's take some of this and add the buff. You were asking about the buff titanium. Lovey, my art studio, said that's why I love art. Endless possibilities. Oh, you know it. You know it. It'll make you crazy. There's so many possibilities. All right. So let me get the buff titanium. Now I have to find it on my table here because I only have 50 million colors in front of me. Okay. Buff titanium, but notice that they also have ivory as a color there. So someone had mentioned something about ivory. Okay, so let's put some of the ivory in there instead of the, so this is titanium buff, and the other one we used was titanium white. Let's see what we get here. Ooh, it kind of makes it a little more yellowy. Okay. Similar color, but tending more toward a yellow. Like I said, cooler color, warmer color. That's if you want to warm up your colors, use use the buff titanium instead of white, and you'll warmify your colors instead of your colors being cooler. Okay, it may be hard for the camera to pick up, but this one is slightly warmer in tone. It has a little bit more of a yellowish look to it than this one does here, where I use just plain titanium white. All right, well, we're not going to get rid of those colors. We're going to use those colors when we do our painting. So all is not for naught. Spell those too. Not for naught. Okay, next. Let's see. We can see it. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right. Next, let me mix a little bit with the metallics. I just love the metallics because I just did the, oh, you know what? Before I do the metallics, let me do the, come on. How could it disappear and it was just right here? Huh? What am I doing to myself? Okay. Oh, it fell over. That's why. That's the yellow. There it is. It fell over. So there is the fluorescent pink. Yes. Okay. So I really love doing the orange color mixes with the fluorescent pink instead of using the primary red. So here's the primary red right here. And then we're going to put a little bit of the primary yellow with each one of those. And you'll see what I mean. A little bit more yellow than red because the red is so strong. Okay, so here's the primary red with the primary yellow. And I'm going to get an orange, and it's going to be like a mid-tone orange, okay? Oop. Orange. Now, Pebeo also has an orange in a tube. I know I put that here. So let me find that for you because I wanted to show you the difference between mixing the orange and just pulling the orange. So here's the cadmium orange hue, right? It's not actual cadmium. And then there is the mixed orange from the yellow and the red. So you can see I like this cadmium red orange because it's so bright right out of the tube. And I find that the primary red and primary yellow mixes more muted oranges, just so you're aware of that. Unless, of course, instead of primary red, you pick the my favorite, which is the fluorescent pink. It must be a Florida thing. It's like I want all my colors to be high key, right? And then here's the orange that I get when I use the fluorescent. What? Oh my gosh. Amazing. Amazing. See that? Compared to that? I don't know about you. I'm this kind of girl right here. Okay, so that's why I'm reaching for that. I go through that fluorescent pink so fast. I was telling the folks at Pebeo, hey, when you send me those paints, can you send me some more fluorescent pink? And they did it. What they sent me instead was vivid pink. So let's do it with vivid pink. It's a monopigment PR146. I haven't tried this yet, so we're going to discover this together. So I'm going to use what they call vivid pink, which is not fluorescent, but still is very bright and beautiful. And we're going to mix that together with the primary yellow. And let's see what we get there. See all these what ifs I get to do when I'm playing in my studio. Okay. Interesting. Okay. What I'm finding interesting is, yeah, it's an orange, but it's very much a yellow orange, which means I need to add a lot more vivid pink. I don't need to do twice the yellow to it to get what I want. Yeah, it's pretty. What it reminds me of is the color called cadmium yellow deep, the color that I just mixed. And now I'm adding some more pink to it just to see what happens. Okay, now I have like a butternut squash orange. It's just different, right? Okay, there's the butternut squash orange. This is a little more rich, as in fall colors. So there are the three right there. Okay, cool. So that's the kind of thing that I do in my studio a lot, is just mix the colors to see where they take me. And we'll just set this aside as well. Now I want to show you some of the metallics, and then we're going to paint something. So unless there's a special request, I have lots of paints here. I didn't bring them all over from my other table. See this olive green light? Oh my gosh, I love that. Love the olive green lights. The purples I love. So there's a dark cobalt violet. See, this is exactly the paint on here, so I know exactly what it looks like. And then that compared to this one, which was the ultramarine violet. One is darker, one is lighter. Can I mix my violet? Oh, I can mix fluorescent pink and vivid pink, yes. Oftentimes I mix my violet with the two primaries or a blue and a red of some sort. But it's nice to have these convenience colors ready to just grab if you don't want to sit there and mix a million colors. Plus, when you color mix, you need to be sure that you mix plenty of color so that you have more than enough to do the project that you're doing, because otherwise, if you try to remix the same color, it's very difficult. That's where having convenience colors in the tube like this can really help a lot. Okay, special request vivid pink and fluorescent pink. Let's see what happens. Now let me look at the vivid pink. Okay, this is a 2 stars, so that means it's a medium light fastness, and this is a medium light fastness, just so you know that, because The primary red is an excellent light fastness. It's a three stars. So here we go. Special request mix. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice call. Jeez. Okay, that I would call flamingo pink. That's a beautiful flamingo pink. Now, what happens if I want to get the shadow for that, right? If I want to get shadow colors, I often will mix a main color, a tint, meaning add white, and a shade. So a shade is either putting the opposite color in with it or putting a darker version of the color. So let me take the magenta, Quin Magenta, which is a dark color. So living through you, yes. Yes, I know what you mean. Let's take this Quin Magenta, which is a 3 star, and see if I can get a shade from that. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is the first time I've done this mix. Wow. Now it's not quite dark enough for me. If I were looking for a shade, I would have to add more of the Quin Magenta, but very nice. Another beautiful mix. Oh, it's like you just want to eat your paint, right? Don't eat your paint, but it is non-toxic, so. But don't eat it. Don't do it. Okay. Oh, beautiful. See the Quin Magenta. What if I do the Quin Magenta, which I haven't done yet, and then the primary yellow? There we go. Which should give me a really nice orange. Let's try that one. These should both be transparent colors. Ooh. Okay. I know likey. Isn't that funny? That is so funny. That's a dark version of like a fall color. Oh, that's hysterical. I know likey. I mean, that's not one of my favorite colors, but I can see it being a shade, something to put behind one of these, right? Because whenever I paint, I'm looking for, if you want to make something look round, you have to have highlights, midtones, and shades, right? So I'm always looking for how can I effectively turn my midtone color into a shade and into a tint. So that's add white to this one. Okay. I think that's what you're saying. Add white to that one. Here we go. Let's put some white over here. You know what? That was an excellent suggestion, Love Be My Motive Studio, because I find often that I need that white to really see what the color is doing. I like to see what's going on with the color. Ah, interesting. I have almost a tan color here when I add white to it. Very, very interesting. It's this is a skin tone. Isn't that interesting? A light, very light, like the highlight for a skin tone. And then, yeah, totally unexpected. That's why it's so important to color mix, because you just don't know what you're gonna. This is like total skin tone. Now, what if I use the buff titanium instead of the titanium white, huh? Which is a little more warm and a little more yellow. Interesting, huh? Oh, okay. So crazy. So crazy, the difference. All right. So this is mixing that color with white and that color with buff titanium. You can see the difference there. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's like I literally spend hours doing this. Okay? It's not an exaggeration. Not at all. Okay, where am I going to put this one? Ah, somewhere where it doesn't fall. Okay, so let me just show you the metallics. I think that was it. What if you add blue? Oh, Bubby B, blue to which one? Let's see. You mean this? Love Be My Motive Studio said, I love buff titanium. What do you prefer when mixing, or what do you gravitate towards? Okay, so Love Be My Motive Studio, I gravitate toward titanium white because I like super high key colors for the most part, but titanium buff is what I use if I need to warmify a color, which is exactly what I did here, right? This is like a little lighter and this is a little warmer. So that's when I grab my buff titanium, which I love. I'm like, you have to have buff titanium in your studio along with white. Absolutely. And it's just something that a lot of people aren't aware of. It's like, yes, use your buff titanium. Okay. Um, blue in with this. So, okay. Do you want me, Bubby B, do you want me to use, which blue do you want me to use? There's cyan, which is the um, primary blue. But then there's also, I have the ultramarine blue, the cobalt blue, and I wouldn't use cerulean. Cerulean wouldn't look good, but I also have these two, the ultramarine and the cobalt. Is there a particular one that you want me to mix with? Otherwise, I'll just use the cyan blue. I'm watching the comments there to see. Cyan. Okay. We have the cyan. So let me put a little bit of cyan out. That is the primary blue. And then what I'll do is, I did that. So you know what? I'm going to switch to this palette knife with the little diamond head on it instead, because I can get smaller amounts because the head of this one is bigger, right? So if I want to do small tests like this, let me put that there. Let's take a little bit of this and put that there. Okay. So now we're going to use a tiny bit of the blue. It's so strong. I have to be super careful not to use too much. Interesting. This is a green gray. Wow, beautiful green gray. And I bet this will be an even greener gray because it has the buff titanium in it. So we're sort of neutralizing the color because this is in the red family, right? Red, orange, and blue is opposite of orange on the color wheel, which means if you mix blue together with an orange, you're going to get something that is in the either the gray or the brown family. And this one's giving me, wow, this is even more green than this one. So this, of course, is cooler because it's using the titanium white, and this one is warmer because it's using the buff titanium. So, so Bobby B said, that's what I expected. And isn't it great when your paints perform the way you expect them to? That's why I was like, oh my gosh, y'all, I love these paints. When they sent them to me and said, can you give us your opinion? I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for doing what you were supposed to do. What about with the darker one? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean, oh, this one over here? Okay. Yeah, these are diametrically opposite on the color wheel, right? So let's put a little bit of the blue so I don't overwhelm the orange there. Ooh, here I'm getting a sienna of some sort, or like a burnt umber. It almost looks like burnt umber with a green tint to it. Y'all who aren't painters are probably like, what the heck are you talking about? Oh, yep. It's a warm gray, but of course it neutralizes it. The blue neutralizes the orange. So that creates a warm gray. There you go. I'm realizing I'm still learning color theory. Oh, good. Good, good, good. Excellent. Yeah, it's very much a green gray right there. And I feel like when you're painting, you're better off color mixing your blacks than you are pulling your black out of a tube. And why do I say that? I say that because your blacks your neutralized colors are much more exciting when they have multiple colors in them like this. Plus, if you're doing a painting and you're using this orange, if you neutralize it with the blue to get this dark color here, it's in harmony. I find neutralizing is so interesting, Bobby B said. Exactly, exactly. So this is how you keep the colors within your painting in harmony with one another, even though this color doesn't look anything like this color at all. So the orange doesn't look anything like, you would have no idea if they came straight out of a tube that this kind of gray green came out of this orange. You would have no idea. But that's the reality of color mixing, and this green in your painting for your dramatic shadows will talk more nicely to this orange. Yeah, it makes a perfect shadow. Perfect shadow. Let me see if I have something I can do that on. Let me do it on here. Yeah. So let's say this is watercolor paper. So I'm just going to set this aside for a second. So yes, you can paint with acrylics on watercolor paper, no problem. So let's say that I'm doing a little landscapey thing here. I'm just going to throw some color down. We're not doing anything in particular, but here's some green, right? I'm going to use the orange for kind of flower. So we've got something going on here. Nothing in particular. I kind of like the what are they? The bird of paradise. Let's do something sort of along that line, okay? So I've got some green, and then maybe I'll throw something highlights in over here, which means the light's coming from here. All right. Very loose, loosey-goosey. And then, oh, I need a paper towel. I go through lots of paper towels when I do this. Okay, so now we're going to do a bird of paradise. So I'm going to throw some orange in there. Oh, the orange is super. An orange, bird of paradise kind of has these interesting colors or plumes like this. Okay. Let's see. I have to turn my hand the different ways for it. Okay. These are just some of the colors that are in a bird of paradise. Believe it or not, bird of paradise has a kind of a blue color in it. So I'm going to take a little bit of this blue with the gray to get a light blue. And there's a really cool, I'm just going to ask that. Oh, being so heavy, how fast does it dry? Ah, good question, Mark. It if I'm palette knife painting, it takes a long time to dry. So normally I leave it overnight. I will start it drying using my heat tool, but you know, realistically, it's got to go overnight. Overnight. So here's some of the blue because your bird of paradise has this kind of really cool looking blue in it. And some of the tendrils. Okay. And then the other color is kind of like this orange, right? We were talking about the orange. So I'm going to take some of that orange there because I have the bright orange, and now I'm going to come in with the darker orange. Okay. Okay, this is looking like a hot mess, but you're getting the idea. Oh, do that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to drop the shadow in there. So I'm going to grab this color that I mixed from the blue. Remember, the blue is one of the colors that's in there, as well as this orange. So I'm going to grab this, and that's where the sun's coming from over here. I put the light colors here. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to put some of the shadows in over here. But this is going to be a shadow color that's not black, but it's going to be very harmonious with what's going on in the painting. So I'm actually going to throw a little bit of shadow down in the bottom there. And then where are my greens again? It's coming. It's coming. Oh, let's see. I wanted to do a green stem of some sort to kind of give it more of the feel. Like I said, you have an idea of what's going on there. But let's do this just for the heck of it. And I'm going to say that this is coming in this direction here. This is literally what I do in my studio, y'all. I'm like picking up different stuff from different parts of my palette. I just want to create a stem here that's a little bit different from the leaf green, right? And here. Okay, well, that gives you a feel for how that works. Anywho, but the nice thing is, oh, thanks, Critter Chops. I appreciate that. So that's just throwing something together with a palette knife, but that's how you can get these shadows in here. And the shadow is not just black, but the shadow will speak to the whole painting because it's mixed from the opposites on the color wheel, and these colors are in the painting. So that's how you harmonize the colors in your painting, okay? Whew. All right, that one's going to require more work to finish it, but that was an idea. We were throwing together ideas there, right? All right, let me, what I want to do now, real quick, like, I want to do another giveaway, of course. And let's do another giveaway. Let's give away one of the big tubes. So one of this size tube right here. Let's do a big tube. Big tube. All right, number one, big tube giveaway. And it's running. Thanks for jumping in on the giveaway, but that's for this one. Bubby says, I love playing with color. I know, right? Now, how many of you colorize your backgrounds? Huh? I'd like to know how many of you are familiar with um, toning or tinting your background. Sometimes, Dragon Hoarder says. Not lately, says George. Slowly puts hand down. I love Be My Motion Motive Studio. You crack me up. So I've shown you in the last couple of weeks about tinted papers, which I use when I'm working with dry media like pastels or oil pastels. Right, it depends on the mood. Mark says he's heard of it. And so the nice thing about tinting a background is that you may never see it when your painting is done. If you're working with acrylics, oftentimes you will cover up most of the painting or most of this background color, but it immediately gets you over the blank canvas syndrome or the blank paper syndrome. Because a lot of times people who are just sitting in front of a white canvas are like, what do I do? Because you've got a lot to fill, right? I haven't done it, but I've watched other people do it. Right. So what I had mentioned earlier is this color was straight out of a tube, which was nice. I didn't have to mix a color, although often I will mix a color. This is called pink beige, and I just thought that would be a fun color to work with to do this one right here, right in the background, so it may peek through. A lot of times I'll use a very bright color like the fluorescent pink or the vivid pink, and I'll put that in the background. Underpainting, yes, undercoating or underpainting. I used to feel bad when I painted over my background. Well, I love using a painted background because then you don't have to worry about covering up all the white. You can if you chose a color that you like and a color that will match well with your subject matter, then it's so easy to paint right over top of it. So let's turn this. I think it looks beautiful when it pops through, right? Oh, me too. Me too. I love when there's an orange or a pink and it pops through. Okay, so let's start with this way. Again, this is not going to be a Michelangelo, but I just wanted to kind of show you the process of what I go through. Now, I have on my desk here something that you would use to hold documents. So like this, right? If you were typing. So I put my pieces that I'm going to work on right there like that. And that way it makes it easy for me to see it. Um, if I need to hold it in place, I use little clips and I just clip it on there. If the air conditioning is blowing and it's going to blow away on me, um, or if I need to position it on there in a different place, like I need to move it up. There we go. So now I've got it. Okay, let's make sure it doesn't fall. It's sitting on top of things. Ugh. Okay, got it. Got it. All right. So we've got some of these bright greens in there. That's why I said I wasn't worried about mixing these greens because I know I'm going to use it in this painting here. So let me spray this with water. I think it looks beautiful. Yeah, that was an old comment. There we go. So I want to keep my paint moist. So I'm just spraying it with water here. Oh, you know what I didn't show you? I didn't show you adding the mediums. So we'll do that as I paint this. Okay. Um, so those are handy. And I'm going to start with, I'm doing it very, you don't have to know that it's a flower and leaves. All right. I'm just using that as inspiration to put something down. So let's start with the this pink and the darker pink here. So let me look for, I have bunches of brushes in front of me here. I like this shape, which is the filbert shape for doing shapes like flowers. So let's start with the lights. And so I'm just gonna do this. Like I said, again, I'm not, oh, who was the giveaway winner? Who was it? That got the big one. It's a big one. Somebody put the comment, put it in the comments who the big winner was there. Mark won again. Woohoo! Oh, you're gonna get some nice paints here. Yes, you are. Now, you're gonna see why I like using the filbert brush. If you're doing flowers of any sort, florals, oh my gosh, it gives you these beautiful rounded edges. Now, could I clean my brush? Yeah, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go right into the dark. I usually start with the light and then go toward the dark. And that way I don't have to clean my brush. All right, so I'm just going to come in here on the edge right there, in the center, on the edge there. Just building the other half of the leaf. Boop. Right? Like this is not anything perfect. Let's put another one over here. And then, right? Ugh. It doesn't even have to be true to form. Let's see. Elendria B Squad says, I just recently started painting with acrylic paints. I'm glad I was told about your page. Aw. So Elandra, what I mentioned earlier, you might not have been here, is that I save these workshops to my YouTube channel. So let me put that out here real quick, like, so you can see what it is. Huh? So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can just snap that. Then I go in and I take out the auction portion of the show after the show is over and just leave the workshops up on my YouTube channel. And so you can go back to them at any time. Thank you for sharing, Mark. I appreciate it. Okay, so I just went with the dark, right? Now I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of the light. It's like don't worry yourself. No crying in acrylic, right? You can always come back later and if you say, "Oh man, I really screwed that up." Not a problem. You can fix it later. That's the beautiful thing about acrylic. Okay, I'm just going to put those two in. Actually, you know what? There's some little buds, and the buds are kind of dark. So let's go with the dark pink here. So I'm just going to throw a little bud in here. Ugh. But no crying in acrylics. Now, could I get a smaller brush? Yes. Let me hold that one there. I have some smaller brushes in here. There's a small one. Let's say I want to put a little pink highlight up here. Y'all, I have so many brushes. You know, when you go into an art store, and then there are like a million brushes. Yeah, this is why, because you just need the brush you need when you need it. Okay, there for something. We got something down. I'm loving these two pinks. So that was the request to have me do this is the fluorescent pink together with the vivid pink. Gave me this, and then this one I threw in the quinacridone magenta. Now, if I wanted to remember that, I would take my Stabilo All pencil and it'll write on the palette paper, and then I would just say vivid and fluorescent pink. And then I would say here, this plus magenta. See how that works? Y'all, if you don't have these Stabilo All pencils yet, you definitely need to get them. If you need to get things like that I show you, you can just go to my website, beatsart.com, and click in the menu and look for supply links, and you'll see that. Now, I don't have these paints in my supply links because right now they're just available at Blick. So you have to go to dickblick.com, but I'll put a link to these paints on dickblick.com in the comments of my video after the video is over. Okay, wow, that was fun. I'm enjoying these a lot, a latte. And then I'm going to bring this up close because I want you to see the really cool strokes that this makes. And this is just the paint right out of the tube, right? Because Crazy Junk Art said, I think Pebeo has a better consistency. I don't know what you're comparing it to, but I want to show you the strokes. This is straight paint with nothing else in it. Okay, you have some nice, like you can see the brush strokes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pink down. Where do I put the pink down? That's the question. That's always the question in the studio, right? All right. So now what I want to do is I want to add some Bindex. Remember I mentioned to you the Bindex? Now this one I might need again. So I have off to the side here one of these little brush holders, and the link for those is in my my website under the supply links. So I'm just putting my brush on that to hold it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I want to thin out the consistency of some of the leaves or some of the paint in order to create the leaves, okay? Actually, we need some yellow as well. Maybe there's another yellow here that I can put out. That would be kind of fun. Let me see. Oops, I just brought the lemon yellow. Oh, you were asking how Pebeo compares to Golden or Liquitex. Gotcha. There we go. Well, I use all of them. I use whatever I need to use for that particular application or whatever's handy or the color that I'm in the mood for that day. But I do have lots of Pebeo paint, a whole drawer full of Pebeo paint that I love. Okay, so here is a yellow because if you look in the picture, there's a lot of yellow going on. And the yellow actually has kind of some green in it. So I'm going to do this, get a yellowy green going, a little bit more yellow. Okay. And now I'm going to use my palette knife. And I'm going to pick that up. Oh, what I wanted to do was I wanted to show you how I would make this a little thinner and a little thicker. So this is the Bindex I was telling you about. Let's run a giveaway for the Bindex and modeling paste right now. Gibby, gibby, gibby. Okay, brick. Nice. We have a giveaway going for modeling paste and a studio Bindex, this stuff right here. Okay, so what am I going to get this out with? I need another palette knife. That never happens. Okay, there we go, another palette knife. So if you want your paint to be a little softer, so paints come in heavy body, medium body, soft body. And so the Pebeo paints, I call them a medium body. That's how I would characterize them, as a medium body. If you want to change it from a medium body into a soft body and have it flow off of your brush better, you're using the Bindex medium. So this is an acrylic binder, but it's soft. Okay, it has a soft consistency, but it's not fluid, which is what I like, because I don't want it to be too wishy-washy. I just want to turn it from a medium body into a soft body. And if you have a heavy body paint like the golden paints and you want to turn them into a medium body paint, you would use the Bindex in with it in order to do that. It has a beautiful, beautiful, what I call a hand cream consistency to it. Oh, it is so lovely, but it's not too wishy-washy like a fluid medium would be. And so I can take that and add it to my paint here. And then that just makes my paint a little softer, which sometimes I find that when I watch other artists, they complain about a paint being too stiff or a paint being not stiff enough. And so you can modify the stiffness of your paint just by the mediums that you use. Okay. So this is the Bindex medium, gives you like, it turns it into a little softer body without too much affecting the color. All right. So we are just going to put in some of this here. I'm just going to use my palette knife because it's close at hand. Now you can see that this sort of peachy color is showing through. I may or may not like that. Of course, if I want this to be more opaque, I'm going to add modeling paste to it. So let me move this out of the way and then pull out the modeling paste. So if I want to turn it opaque, but not really to change the color too much, it'll lighten the color just slightly. But I use the modeling paste for that. If I can get it open. Here we go. So especially when you're going over top of a previous color like this, there's a little bit of it dried right there. So I'm going to take that off. When you're going over top of another color, I find it's very helpful to put some of the modeling paste in with your color to make it more opaque. And then it'll also give it a little bit more body. So let's put this, what do I want to put this in with? I'll put this in with that little bit of green right there. The nice thing about the jars is it's so easy to put it back in if you're not using it all like that. The lid, the lid, the lid. Now, before I put these lids on, what I usually do is I will grab some Vaseline, like it is, and then I'll put Vaseline around the lid like this. And then that helps make it a lot easier to reopen later. Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I've had to like take a hammer to a lid of a jar with paint in it or mediums. And I discovered if I just grease it up with some of the Vaseline beforehand that I'll be able to get it off. Okay, 30 seconds left on the giveaway. The giveaway is a Bindex and a modeling paste. Okay, let's put that away. So here I'm adding the modeling paste to this green. And now what'll happen is this green will sit on top of the color underneath. You won't be able to see through. And that's what I do when I'm layering colors is I'll add the modeling paste. It didn't change the color of the actual paint too much. I might throw in a little bit more of a darker green. There we go. But now it's very thick, and then it will sit on top of the other colors. Plus, it'll hold its shape a little bit more. If what you're looking for is to create texture, the modeling paste will not only sit on top, it'll also help to create texture. If you're doing something like this, like palette knife painting, right? I paint with my palette knife most of the time. I love palette knife painting because of the texture that it creates there. But yes, I can paint with a brush, so let's clean this off. Here's one of the reasons I love palette knife painting. Ta-da! Clean. I don't have to go to the sink. I don't have to wash anything off. It's just done. And if you ever get paint like stuck on your palette knife, just take another palette knife and scrape it off like that. Ding, clean. Okay, so let us put this other color green on with a brush. What kind of brush do I want to use? Let's use a fan brush just for the heck of it. So I love the width and the fan sort of effect that you get with a fan brush. So let's get some of this other green on here. And so I'm just going to bring it in, put some interesting strokes in here like this, and then maybe do this with it. This is where you can do some interesting stroke work with the fan brush. Or I often use it for these sort of straight, wispy kind of things like this. All right. Whew. Well, it's moving in the right direction, I think, right? So what else did we have here? Do we have any special requests? Because I'm going to um, well, let's put some orange on. I was gonna stop here, but I'm gonna put some orange on and let's run another giveaway. What the heck? Why not? And then we'll do the main giveaway as I'm changing the table over. Let's do another one of the get two colors in this small size like this. We're going to run this one, and that is running. So I'll pick two colors of these small tubes to send to you. And then, then we have to do the metallics. We have to do the metallic giveaway, and then we're going to do this giveaway. So we're almost done, but yes, we are going to do those giveaways as well. Okay, so the next one is metallic. Let's look at something metallic. Now, of course, I can take any of these colors that I have on my palette and let's add gold to it. That's where I was saying that. Don't be afraid to add the metallics to your other colors. What's the best country you've been to and why? Critter Chops is asking. So that's for anybody in the chat. My favorite country was Korea. I lived in Korea for 3 years. All right. So I'm going to mix some gold in with this bright green. Let's see what we get. Ooh, nice. Very rich, rich, sort of goldish green, yellow green. All right, let me put this aside. Trying not to get paint everywhere. Beautiful gold green. So let's come in and do some more highlighting here, but you can really see the gold. I like using gold for the highlights, but you can also mix it in with your colors to give your colors a little more excitement. Oh, let's put some up here. And when you do it in a thin coating, what you're going to notice is you get some nice reflection. So let me put some here so that you can see. If you've used gold in your mix, you're going to get some beautiful reflections like that. Let me mix with some silver. I love using the silver. Well, the silver and the copper together will give a rose gold. So let me switch this out with this one, and we'll mix a rose gold over here. So I'm putting some copper on here, and then I'm going to put some of the silver. Which, did I get out the silver yet? No, here it is. I love that reflection, right? My favorite was Australia. Ooh, the fresh fish was amazing. That sounds amazing. Okay, so I just mixed silver and copper, and you can mix those in varying degrees to get different levels of rose gold. So let's see what, oh man, that is nice. Just like that. You'd think I was doing this a couple of times. I do this all the time. I love the rose gold. So there's your rose gold. Stunning. Stunning. I've done that with iridescent, but never thought to mix with metallic. Yeah, for sure. Give it a try. I love the metallics. Love mixing with metallics. Speaking of metallics, I'm going to run this giveaway right now. So if you're over on YouTube and you'd like to take place, or if you'd like to participate in the giveaways, then either scan the QR code at the top of the screen or go into the description of the video on YouTube and click, and that will bring you over to Whatnot. And that's where we're doing the giveaways tonight. So this is a set of 3 in the small tube size, the 60 milliliter, but it's a gold, a silver, and a copper. And then you'll get this mixing tool and a texture tool with it. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, there's already a giveaway running. Well, as soon as that giveaway is over, I guess I can go ahead and pull that giveaway, right? Draw the winner. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Booby Bee! Yay! Booby Bee, you won 2 of these colors of the 60 milliliters, and I will pick out 2 colors to send to you. And so right now, since I'm working with metallics, we're going to give away this metallic set right here. And it is running. Woohoo! That's running. So definitely get in on that. That'll give you the silver, the gold, and the copper in that set. Oh, you're quite welcome. You might win more because I have the 2 more to give away. So here we got that incredible rose gold. What? Like, amazing. Actually, you can mix a really, really cool pewter. What I like to do is the silver and then just a little bit of the black. Or let's use the Prussian blue. What the heck? Because it's so close to black, but it's actually a color instead of being black. Let's do that. See what we get. Because I haven't done that one yet. I've done it with black, and you get a nice, like a beautiful pewter color. All right, let's try this with the Prussian blue. Wow. Nice. That is a dark metallic, isn't it? Deep. That would be a nice shadow, but with some pizzazz because it has shimmer in it. So that silver with the Prussian blue right there. Wow. Love it. Okay, let's see if I take, let's use a brush. A brush. I'll use this little one. Usually I'll get the brush wet first before I do this. And then why don't we put some of this rose gold, and I'll put some highlights here. Why not? They will show up beautifully in, like bright lights. They'll shine just for something right now. Just so I can show you putting it in here. I'm just going to put it right on the tips of this one. Maybe in the center there. Why not? Okay, so that's going to add a bit of a sparkle to your piece. And remember, no crying in acrylics. So if you put it somewhere and you don't like it, you just cover it up. One of the beautiful things about using a single color out of the tube for the background, and I highly recommend that, I highly recommend it, is because if you, let's say I made a mistake and I go, oh my gosh, I don't like that. Well, when it's dry, I can come back in here with the background color, right? Because this is the color that I put on the background, and then I can just go in there and adjust it. I can do 1 or 2 layers and cover it up and then come back and do it again. Paint over it again, right? So I highly recommend that you use a single color out of a tube, and then you'll know what your background color is. And then you can make little repairs like that. Oh my gosh, look at my cloth here is just getting to be a mess. All right, I actually can see things starting to skin over, so I'm just going to take some water and spray that. And now, what do we have? A minute left. Oh, 10 people in the giveaway. Awesome. That's not even the grand giveaway yet, y'all. The grand giveaway. Let's put some of this blue just for the heck of it, since I made it. Let's put this as like a, see, I was just about to stick my hand in there and this is still all wet. What? So let's just put this like down inside here, kind of like a bit of a shadow. Why not? Because it's pretty. I do that all the time. Oh, I do it all the time too. I end up putting my hands in there all the time. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put like a little bit of a shadowy thing here too. Why not? So this is the that beautiful blue. I'm just sort of creating some shadow with it. And I'm not being very careful because this is not, a masterpiece. Not my masterpiece, not my best work, but it's sure fun, right? But I want you to see how luscious and how creamy. I have decided paint pants now, dedicated paint paint pants now. I can understand that. So I'm going to turn this at an angle so you can see. You see all the luscious like texture that's in there. Salmon's girl, you won the metallics. Woohoo! See the metallic over here shimmer, like green metallic shimmer is beautiful. But there's a combination of things that are going to shimmer and textures and like I said, there are 48 colors in the line, just so you know. Now you're going to have to go out and buy them all. But if you win some here tonight, then of course you don't have to buy them all, right? And you can mix a lot of the colors from um, the primary colors, which is why I wanted to show you those primary colors. If I were going to just buy a smattering in order to get a feel for the paints, I would get I would get this little metallic set, and I would get this little primary set, and I would get at least the fluorescent pink in the tube, because the fluorescent pink only comes in the bigger tube like this. And then I would get the what's the other? Oh, titanium white, of course. Like you have to have titanium white. Actually, there is a set that includes, instead of the 3, it includes 5, and it has your titanium white and your one of the blacks in it as well. Okay. All right. Let's do another givey. Hey, we're just going to do continuous givvies tonight, right? Why not? Okay, let's see. Another givey is let's do another 120 milliliter tube. Okay, so that one's running. We're going to do that one, and then we'll do the grand one, which is this one right here. Ah, okay. Now the orange. I want to put some of the orange in there, so I've got to clean my brush. Right. You can see it's going somewhere. It's certainly not exact, but let me show you the reference so you kind of have a feel for reference, start of the painting, reference, start of the painting, right? It's kind of going in that direction, isn't it? Okay, there we go. So let's take these oranges and do something with the orange since we have it here. Oh, these colors are so beautiful. If you've been with me before, you've seen this, but I'm going to show you a trick that I do with the paint that's left over. I take my leftover paint and I put it on some sort of paper surface. So these are postcards. So they're 4x6. This is 4x6 handmade paper. This is 6x9 handmade paper. This is 6x9 watercolor paper. And I take my leftover paint and I put it on surfaces like this. And then I will show you what they look like. Because when I'm doing a lot of color mixing, I don't always use all of my mixed colors. But I have a no paint left behind policy in my studio. So I need to use that paint in some way if I'm done with my painting session, right? Hey there, Fred. Welcome in. Welcome in. And so here are, for instance, some of those pages that are just covered in leftover paint. This was a purple that I made, and then I added the iridescent white to it so it would have that incredible iridescence. But you can see all of these, all leftover paint. So that I don't waste anything, I'm creating backgrounds. As you can see here, lots of backgrounds. And then what do I do with my backgrounds? I take the backgrounds and I do my favorite thing, which is collage. And I create greeting cards like this or finished artwork. Sometimes I'll just mat these because I love the exotic papers. But that's, I always have a huge sampling of these backgrounds ready to go from leftover paint from my acrylic painting sessions. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Hey, hey, America, or Marcia. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that giveaway. So if you wanted to get in the giveaway, hopefully you're in it already. And we're drawing the winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Cather 162, you've been with us for quite a while this evening. Yay. Okay, so congratulations. You won one of these size tubes. I'll pick out one of them and send that off to you. Yes, congratulations. I know Dragon Hoarder is holding out to win the final one, right? I know, I know. Okay, so let me get some of this orange from here onto there. Now this bright orange, it's a little bit transparent. So what I'm gonna do, of course, is add some of the modeling paste to it because I want it to sit on top. You can also let them dry and use the paint peels for collage. Yes, yes, absolutely, Bubby B. I could just let this dry and then use a knife or a palette knife to scrape it off. And then that can be cut or put through a punch, and you can use that. Absolutely. So I'm going to take a little bit of the modeling paste and I'm going to put it in with this orange because I want the orange to sit on top. Like I said, it only very lightly, depending of course on how much modeling paste you use. Usually I only need a little bit to make it oh, thank you, Dragon Hoarder. The real prize is the art lesson. You're such a sweetie. Okay, So I'm mixing this up in there. It only just barely increases the color, I mean the brightness. For the most part, the color stays close to the same. Okay. But now I just made it opaque. So even if it had some transparency or translucency in it, it's now opaque. So I can just grab another brush. Let's do this little, I like this little stiff brush right here. This one is sort of stiff on the end. I like that for dropping in little details. Okay, so let's grab some of this orange, which is really, really cool. And now it's got like incredible texture to it. You can see right there. And then I can come in and maybe let's put little dots here with some texture for some other sort of little background flower, right? Oops, sorry if that's in the way there. Oh, let me bring that down a little bit. And I'm just gonna drop this in. There we go. A little bit of texture. Now, of course, if I wanted a particular shape, I would select the brush based on the shape that I wanted these little dots to be, right? They're a little more square because I've chosen a square brush to put them on with. But there's great texture. Okay, am I running a giveaway? No. Okay, so we're almost done with the lesson. This is the last thing I'm showing you. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna run this, which is going to be the set of the 3 primaries, the mixing tool, the texture tool. You'll get a modeling paste and a Bindex, okay? That's the grand prize today. Thank you, Pebeo. Everybody say thank you, Pebeo. They're the ones who have donated all this paint for me to give away. And let's go ahead and we are going to run the final givey. There we go. I'm going to let that one run for the for the full 5 minutes. And oh, how much fun is it to play and paint? I love it. Now, I'm going to tell you guys another secret. You know, we're all about secrets among friends here. Pebeo's a 100-year-old paint company, and they've been sourcing pigments for 100 years from all over the world. Because of their buying power and their longevity and the volume of paint that they buy, because they have distribution worldwide, you're going to get these beautiful monopigment paints like this. In this particular line, you're going to get them for about, from my research, about a third of the price, between a half and a third of the price of the competitors at that level. Remember, you have to be looking at paints that are professional level or studio level, that are monopigments, that are transparent, you know, have the transparency and all that stuff. If you're looking at paints at that level, I did a price comparison like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to tell everybody that these are like so inexpensive. I mean, if you're going out to buy paint, if you don't have a Blick nearby, like I said, that's the only place we can get it right now is Blick. If you don't have a Blick nearby, um, just I will have the link in the video on YouTube when the video is done, and I modify the video to add the YouTube link. It'll be I'll give you that Blick link in the links part of the video description, because if you don't live near a Blick, if you don't have the benefit of being able to just walk in, then you may want to yeah, you may want to order online. Okay, well, that's going somewhere. It's going somewhere, right? It's going somewhere. It's very loosey-goosey. This is the first layer. There are many layers to come. I like that there's a color in the background so I don't have to worry about painting everything, right? And this is how I look when I'm done with a painting session. Usually a lot more paint than this. And usually I have it on my elbows, and of course it's all over my Pebeo for the win. Thank you, Dragon Hoarder. Thank you, thank you. Yes. Okay. Well, I like the direction that it's going in. It's gonna be fun here to like put in more shadows and do some more fun stuff like that. You know what? I'll make sure whenever I do these workshops, I besides saving the video to YouTube, I write an article for every workshop on my website. So if you go to my website, which is just deetsart.com, let me put that up here. So it's deetsart.com. If you just go there, the landing page is my blog page. So over the next 2 days, I will edit the video on YouTube, and then I'll put the link into an article on my website, and then I'll include this picture. I'll put a link to this picture. So if any of you want to download it and try it, you are welcome to. But the picture will be linked, you know, a PDF download will be linked in the article that'll appear on my website. Okie dokie. So feel free to go there. Yeah, very busy woman. Yeah, Mark, there's a lot of prep that comes in ahead of doing a workshop, and then I have to reset my table each time, each week, and then I have to do my makeup. You know what I mean? Um, since I work from home, I don't have to do my makeup every day, but I do my makeup for y'all. And then afterwards, I do the video editing on YouTube, and then I do write articles. And sometimes I even write an additional article on my website about other stuff. Like I have an article about AI and how you can go to Canva and print out AI images to help you with your artwork as inspiration for your artwork and that kind of thing. Okay.